The Samjhauta explosion took place in February 2007, and within 2 days or 3 days, I think a SIT was constituted. In fact, at that particular point of time, I was posted as additional DG Director of Haryana Police Academy. This explosion took place in the jurisdiction of District Panipat, and it was very close to that academy, and I was within few hours I was directed from headquarters, and I reached there, and I took part in the initial searches and etc., all those things. Within 2-3 days, the DG of Haryana constituted a special investigation team, what we call as a SIT, and I was made the head of that team. So another SP was attached with me, Mr. R.C. Mishra. Bharti Arora was the district SP at that time in the district Panipat, and she was also attached because she was the district SP. There were DSPs were there, inspectors there. So it was a team of about 7-8 persons. That was in February 2007. And we were very fortunate. The Samjhauta Express started from Delhi and close to Panipat. This 2 of the bogies, they caught fire because of that incendiary device that was loaded on those 2 compartments. And we were very fortunate to recover one device unexploded, and this device was packed in a suitcase. Suitcase had a suitcase cover was there. Then inside the entire whole thing was set up inside. It is basically an incendiary device, and a small quantity of explosive was there in order to give it a you can say explosion, so that the effect of fire is enhanced. And why did they go for fire instead of a big explosion is because fire will cause more damage in a running train. Explosion will damage only one part of the compartment. People who are there will be injured or killed and all that kind of thing. But when the fire takes place in a running train, then it will definitely cause much more panic, much more damage, and that is why they had used it. And as I said, when we dismantled this device, then we started searching from where the origin for these items, and that search we contacted the manufacturers of various devices. Then we contacted the stockists, then from stockists we went to the retailers, and ultimately it was an all India search, and ultimately we reached Indore. And Indore we could locate the market, and we could locate the shop from where the attache was that cover was made. The attache was picked up and the cover was made, and there these 2 salesmen were there. It was I remember the name was Raghunandan Attache Store. The owner was one Bohra Muslim, and 2 of his employees, the youngsters, one Hindu and one Muslim. So they conceded that 2 young people had come. These 2 young people were from Indore. They were speaking Indori dialect, Hindi. In that the pronunciation was local. And later, when they were asked in confidence by us, much later, maybe the next day only, by that time they confided that yes, they are pretty sure that these 2 were Hindus and not Muslims. So there is a way the local can tell you whether this fellow belongs to which community. Certain words they use or certain sounds they make or whatever may be their way of doing it, but that cannot be conclusive for us, for police, for investigative agencies. But they helped us. They helped us in making a sketch, this and that, etc. Ultimately, within a radius of 1 kilometer, we could locate almost all the items that were used in preparing that device. The bottle was there, the other things were there, and it was established that this is the epicenter from where the whole thing was assembled. Now, SIMI was a organization at that time which came under our scanner because the first thing, they were involved in many subversive activities here and there, and their main man Samjhauta Nagori was inside jail. And if I remember correctly, within few days, either the foreign minister of Pakistan or foreign secretary of Pakistan, somebody was to visit India in order to carry on the bilateral talks. And it was widely believed that just to derail those talks, this explosion has been engineered. So first suspects were Pakistan sponsored modules or semi modules, that kind of impression was there. But as the investigation progressed, it became clear to us that it was neither the Pakistan based modules nor it was the semi modules. And semi operatives who were in the jail, we had a talk with them as well, including this fellow Samjhauta Nagori, in due course of time. And we were pretty convinced that then sooner we started gathering evidence, we started talking to the people, we started, I must say, as our perception matured, we could realize that it was a Hindu outfit which carried out the whole thing. And Indore was not only notorious for simi, it was also notorious for Hindutva activists. At that time it was gaining notoriety. Madhya Pradesh was run by a BJP government, and frankly speaking, in Indore we didn't get much cooperation from the local police. But privately, some of the police officers, they used to tell us that you're on the right course, and but officially, no, the cooperation that is needed from the local police, that was not forthcoming. We also visited their headquarters in Bhopal. So investigation started, and soon we came to know about the existence of a Hindutva group which was headed by one Sunil Joshi. Now this guy, by the time we could start actually looking into that aspect, this guy was murdered. If I remember correctly, he was murdered in the same year, 2007, towards the end of the year. And the police, local police, they first caught somebody and ultimately they had to release that fellow, and the grey point was that his own colleagues have killed him, that kind of thing. We could zero in on Sunil Joshi and two of his accomplices. One was Kulsangre and another was Angre. I don't remember their exact names at the moment, but if I remember, one was Kulsangre, certainly, his surname. And these two are missing even now. Even the NIA has not been able to catch them. We also tried to locate them. Certain raids were also conducted at various places, but we are not able to catch them. So there, I mean, we had the feeling that it has been carried out by a Hindu group headed by Sunil Joshi and these two fellows, and there may be some other people supporting them, but we were not able to make headway beyond this point.
Do you remember the name of the organization Sunil Joshi headed?
Sunil Joshi was from RSS.
Yeah. Did he have a shell kind of an organization?
No, he definitely was from RSS. He had that RSS background, and he was the senior most in that group, and he was the leader of the group, I will say.
Which is in the Indore circuit?
Not in the Indore. He was in a different place. But you can say, yes, that the Indore was the hub for these places, and certain areas around Indore were also involved as far as their activities are concerned. So later, this was in 2007, and 2007 I think this Makkah Masjid case also took place in Hyderabad. Then Ajmer Sharif case took place, and when these cases occurred, Makkah Masjid, immediately what happened, that the police went, and they went in a big way, very aggressively after the explosion, and then they captured many youngsters, Muslim youngsters from the locality. Now people protested, and it became a violent protest. Ultimately, police had to open fire, and I think there were 5-6 deaths also took place. These fellows were arrested, and police claimed that they have confessed to the crime. They were taken to a lab in Bangalore where they were subjected to narco test, and narco test also they claimed that they have come out with confession. Now this is also very peculiar because the person who was conducting the narco test, ultimately he proved to be a fake. It was a professor, assistant professor or a lady professor, and she proved to be fake, and the lab actually dismissed her.
What do you think?
Fake means her degrees were fake, and the methods were also fake. In fact, I visited that lab because I wanted to understand how much credibility or credence can we give to this narco test. And when I went through the way they were conducting it, and I could see that it is not genuine. Although she was actually improving the story line that is being given to her by the investigators. So that is another aspect. But why I am telling you all this is because in the MHA there used to be joint meetings to monitor the progress of these cases. I have attended a few of those meetings in the year 2007, maybe 2008 also. Like I said, even at that time MHA was also people were looking forward to a Pakistan angle to the case. And sometimes queries used to come to us by are you able to unearth any Pakistan angle? We used to say, sorry, there is no Pakistan angle is coming in our investigation. So in those joint meetings, when we compared our notes, I could see that the Makkah Masjid case, the Ajmer Sharif case, Samjhauta Blast case, all these cases have the same signature, which means that it has been done by the same gang, same group of people have done it. Exactly the same kind of devices, the same kind of modus operandi, etc., was used. And I used to tell these fellows, the Makkah Masjid investigators, that if you have caught hold of the right persons and they are confessing to your crimes, then why are they not confessing to my crime? Because it has been done by the same group. They said they are not confessing. So this was very puzzling to me, and I never believed them. Ultimately, when NIA took over in 2010 all these cases, they also reached to the same conclusion and got them discharged, and those fellows have been acquitted after the correct people were caught. But that is in 2007-8 also, and by 2008 the name of Asimanand started coming in the connection of these two fellows, the absconders, and Sunil Joshi. And I remember that we did conduct a few raids to find out about Asimanand. By 2009, since the case involved a lot of interstate movement, cooperation from other states, all those ramifications were there. So we thought and CBI was already investigating a few of these cases. Some of the cases had already been transferred to CBI. So we also suggested that let this case also be taken over by CBI, Samjhauta. I don't think CBI agreed to that, but CBI started monitoring it in the sense that whenever they will hold a meeting in the headquarters to monitor the progress of these cases, they will invite our investigators also. They will also go there. And then they used to divide them by you conduct raid on this fellow, you conduct raid on this fellow, you say this hideout, etc., etc. And by that time, the name of Asimanand was there, and a few raids were conducted on him as well.
What was the time you're talking about?
I'm talking about 2008. 2009. 2009 CBI. I'm not sure about.
After the Haryana SIT was.
I'm not sure. It can be 2008 end, or it can be 2009 beginning. It can be.
But around a year and a half after.
Around that period. Exactly.
Because the Haryana SIT was constituted around
immediately
after the.
Within three days. You're right.
3 days. So this angle, this whole was angle to pursue the Pakistan angle was immediately taken down once the investigation started, and it took the SIT to Indore and all these places.
No,
But
what took me to Indore was because we had recovered that device. The device was unexploded, and when we searched for that device, from where it has been procured, that took us to Indore.
because this was also the first time where in some sort of a Hindu extremist Hindu terror angle was being investigated. So that must, for you as an SIT chief, it must have been a little new phenomenon also. So did you go into what kind of activities they were into in Indore and that belt? Because Makkah Masjid, Ajmer Sharif, those things came out only a little later.
Yeah.
But when you first conducted so what kind of was there a organized kind of a setup which conducted these kind of things, which eventually, but what did your investigations show?
Actually, it took us by surprise.
Yeah.
It was very difficult to sink in, and we did not leave our other angles.
Yeah.
It is not that only because the indications were there, so we left the other angles. We continued on Simi also. We continued to collect information about them. We continued to interview their operatives in the jail and other places. We continued all those things, and whatever information was coming about the Pakistani module, this and that, everything was being collated. It is not that we left those lines. But you are very right. What happened that we started collecting how active are these fellows? Are the Hindu modules are acting in and around? Yes. So we found out that Hindu modules are active in that area.
What is the activity? If you could elaborate.
Activity means.
How did you find that they are active in that area?
They were involved in certain crimes also. They were noticed to be assembling and talking about aggressively and saying various things, etc., etc. Offhand, I cannot.
Yeah.
I'm not in a.
Did you see a communal angle to those kind of activities?
Of course. Of course, you're right. Because you could see that this communal angle was from both sides.
So what I'm trying to say that Gunde Badmash, generally people of anti-social elements exist everywhere, but this was a political crime.
This is not Gunda Badmash. There is the people who are actually being indoctrinated. So those kind of meetings and all those kind of things, I mean that kind of information was coming to us. These are the fellows who are active. In fact, we prepared a list who are the fellows who are active.
Yeah.
Because Sunit Joshi had not left his card for us to find out that he is there. So you had to collect all these names. And then when you are collecting all these names, then you are sifting through these names, those lists, etc. And then you are reaching to a conclusion, all right, these can be our people. And by the time we zeroed in, this guy had been murdered. In fact, his murder opened the Pandora's box, if you ask me. Sometimes what happens that something has happened and that attracts the attention. So the murder, when you started looking into the angles of the murder, and then we realized that our person is this, and the other two are absconding. Where have those two gone? Nobody knows, because they have not been captured so far.
But the SIT could not investigate any person who you got hold of?
No, you can say
murdered and there were accomplices.
Two others were absconding. We could not get hold of any suspect who actually was involved in planting the devices on Samjhauta Express. The closest we came was these two people who had seen and interacted with those two young boys. I mean, these two salesmen in the Raghunandan attaché store.
Yeah.
Those were the closest we came to. And they also said that they had not seen these two fellows before. And but they said that if we see them, then we will be able to identify them. But
when you did a background check, Sunil Joshi, you found Sunil Joshi was an RSS member.
Oh, Sunil Joshi, yeah, exactly.
And everyone knew about it.
Everybody knew about it. Sunil Joshi was an RSS member. They used to hold meetings, etc. All those things came.
Okay.
All those things came.
So from here on, when Sunil Joshi was murdered and could not, how did the investigation proceed?
The next breakthrough came in 2008, maybe in October, when Malegaon 2 took place. Hemant Karkare, who then later was killed in the Bombay attacks by the terrorists, he was the ATS chief. And my information was that they have picked up some very vital clues from those explosions. So within few days I had a talk with him, and it must have been October only, because November that Bombay attack took place, and he was killed, and it was just a week or 10 days before his martyrdom. So Hemant Karkare told me, yes, they have got important clues. Actually what they had got was, they had recovered the motorcycle of Pragya Singh Thakur from the scene, and then they started connecting. Once they reached Pragya Singh Thakur, then they were able to find out who were the accomplices, who were the persons, and once those fellows were caught, then they could know that who actually planted the motorcycle there, etc., and how the meeting used to take place. Then the names of Colonel Purohit, and then the name of Asimanand was confirmed, and Colonel Purohit's name came, and all these names started coming in a bulk. That is what Karkare was telling me, and he said that within 10-15 days, once they have pieced the whole evidence together, then he will come back to me. But that was not to be, because he got martyred in the attack. But thereafter, since they had very solid leads, and the whole thing progressed at a fast pace. 2009, as I told you, by the time all the names were known, CBI had started monitoring the cases. Our people also used to attend those monitoring meetings. They would always say, all right, you are in this side,
so all these cases came to be combined
for monitoring purpose. Some of them were already being investigated by CBI, but Samjhauta was also clubbed.
Makkah Masjid, Ajmer Sharif and Malegaon, these 4 incidents
were being monitored,
but they were
I think 1 or 2 were being investigated also by, I think, Ajmer Sharif and Makkah Masjid. They were being monitored.
Malegaon and Samjhauta still remained with the state police.
The files remained with the state police, but actually in Samjhauta we were not doing anything. We were just part of that monitoring activities, and whatever was assigned to us, that we were doing.
So your independent inquiry at around this time stopped after Sunil?
Independent inquiry, we became part of that monitoring by the CBI, because independent inquiry was not taking us anywhere. Now they had the names, they also knew that these fellows are absconding, how to go about them, so everybody combined, you can say that. So no independent inquiry was required at that time. I am saying that the monitoring committee used to take decisions, and then whatever the job was assigned to different units, they used to carry it out.
You as a part of the SIT, as leading the SIT, attended all the monitoring?
No, I did not attend. My IO used to attend, his investigating officer used to attend. But he used to come and brief me. After every monitoring committee meeting, he used to come and brief me. So by 2010 it was shifted to NIA, had come into existence. All the cases had been transferred to NIA. So this case also was duly transferred to NIA. 2010 it went to NIA. And since they had all the names, etc., so they started getting success and started arresting people. I think a couple of them were arrested in Rajasthan, here, there, etc., and ultimately they were able to piece up everything. So that is how the investigation went on.
So now, sir, coming back to what happened, because
the investigation in Samjhauta, I want to make one thing which is very pertinent. The investigation in Samjhauta, I am really proud of that investigation for simple reason, because our team only reached Indore. We are the one who established that Indore is the epicenter. We are the one who pointed out that a Hindu group is involved. But more than that, we never succumbed to this, bait to arrest people in a hurry. Otherwise it was very easy. You arrest some semi-operative, people are lodged in jail, you go and you make an arrest, then you take remand, you start interrogating them, and you also work out a case. That kind of thing, temptation could have been there, but because the indications were very strong that Simi is not involved, so we never went in that direction.
The question, many people have accused now with the present government that the all these investigations were at one level botched up, but have failed to give any kind of evidence. So I also wanted to ask you, did you, as the SIT chief, did you work under any kind of political pressure first as from the Haryana government and later the CBI? Did you find any sort of political pressure or any kind of tactic to manipulate the directions of
the investigation? No, I don't think there was any pressure. The only pressure was that are we making any progress? And that pressure always, whenever the query came from MHA, the people will always ask, have we made any progress? And they were for a very long time under the impression that some Pakistan connection will come. In fact, they were hoping.
The UPA government.
UPA government, because they were hoping that let there be a Pakistan connection so that we can embarrass Pakistan in their next talks. But that was not to be. So
no, because this question, why I was asking, because the question about political pressure, because now you know that Rohini Salyan came out and said how NIA is putting pressure on her to go slow on these cases, Malegaon case and all this. So that's why it is very important for our readers and our audience to know that you worked independently without.
There was certainly no pressure. In fact, we got a lot of space and time for simple reason, because Samjhauta was nobody's baby, if you ask me.
Yes.
Explosion was supposed to take place in Delhi, but ultimately the device exploded in Haryana, so it became a Haryana case. It could have become a Delhi case. Had it been a Delhi case, Delhi police would have been involved and maybe more publicity and all these things, etc., etc. In Haryana, there is no local victims are there, so there is no local hue and cry. So that kind of pressure is not there. As far as the political pressure is concerned, as I told you, the MHA, their impression and our first impression was also this, that this may be a case from the that angle to derail the talks between India and Pakistan. But then when it started, but we were very careful. Once we got this indication that it can be a Hindu group, and before that nobody was talking about Hindu group, so we were very careful. And we kept it to ourselves. The whole 2007 we kept it to ourselves. 2008 also, after Sunil Joshi angle came into being. And then only we were sure.
Then only you came out and said.
Then we said, yes.
So, but the thing is, did you get a chance to talk to any of the survivors in the blast and ask about what happened? And
yes.
And from there, did you find anything suspicious about any linkages with the Hindutva?
No, not from the scene of crime.
No.
Scene of crime, as I told you, we are very fortunate to get a device intact, because that device led us ultimately to Indore. Had we not got the device, I don't know. It would have been a totally blind case then.
So now my next question will be, what happened at NewsX yesterday? If you could start from background so that we'll record.
Yeah. Yesterday, in the day, I think, in the forenoon, a call came from Chandigarh. One fellow introduced himself that I am from NewsX, speaking from Chandigarh. He thought I am residing after retirement in Chandigarh. So I told him that I am not in Chandigarh and now I am residing in Delhi. Then he said, all right, then somebody from Delhi will contact you. And then someone spoke from Delhi. The same fellow spoke, I think, his name was Rahul or then that fellow spoke to me and he said that I am sending my reporter and are you willing to talk, and we are investigating. And if you are investigating, I will definitely like story to come out. I didn't know about this channel. In fact, I asked them, how old are you and are you a regular channel? They said, yes, we are a national channel and we are pretty old, etc., etc. And then they said, right away we are sending. I told them to send them by 12:30 or so. They came at around 1 o'clock. So one lady reporter was there, one cameraman was there, and there were two interns. Two lady interns were there. So They said we will connect you to the anchor, that is Mr. Rahul, and he will ask the question and you answer. So they set up the camera and they put up the telephone there, or they put up a mic and telephone. They said it will record the whole thing, and then they connected me to the studios, and the anchor started asking the questions. And he was asking on the semi angle. I told him there was no semi angle. He was asking about the Pakistan angle. I said there was no Pakistan angle. The Hindu outfit was involved, this and that. I mean, all those things that I just mentioned here. I told him about how the investigation progressed and how was it given to NIA ultimately, etc., etc. But he talked about some document from UNO. I said I had never seen this document. And how is UNO concerned, I don't know. Then he talked about some fellow who has confessed before American authorities something about Simi's role. I said I have never seen it. Throughout the time I was involved with the investigation, this kind of document never came to me. And because it has the interstate ramifications and we were not in a position to make any headway, and NIA was already there. So first CBI started monitoring and then it was handed over to NIA, which was the right thing to do under the circumstances. And it took about 20-25 minutes, quite a long time. So they said that it will be aired in the evening, and that is the time, etc., 8 o'clock or so. So 8 o'clock I switched on the TV and I started watching it, and soon I realized what they had done is they had brought on TV, they had recorded a few questions they had asked Bharati Arora, who was the SP at Panipat at that time. And she was, in that capacity, she was a member of SIT. Actually, she was a technical member, if you ask me, because it was a case belonged to the railway police. It happened on railway, not in her jurisdiction, but since she is the SP, she was there to support the efforts. Local SP will support the effort, so she was part of the SIT team. But she was not an active investigator, in the sense she didn't go to Indore, she didn't come to Delhi and all those things, but she was in touch with the investigation. So when they were asking her the questions, I was following it very minutely. This fellow asked 3 things in 3 different contexts, and she answered, all right, yes, Simi and other groups were under aware out suspects. That is what she said. She said Simi and other groups. Then initial suspects. Then she said, yes, we were able to reach Indore. So Indore aa gaya. Third, when he said, don't you think you are disappointed when the investigation was taken away from you? After 3 years the investigation is going. She said there is no question of disappointment or happiness. It was the order from the government came and we handed over the investigation. So, but were you able to crack the case? And she said, yes, we were on the right track. That is what she said. So these 3 words, Indore, Simi and right track. These 3 this fellow combined, and then he started saying, here is a member of the SIT and she is saying that Simi was involved, that is how we reached Indore, and we were on the right track, but the investigation was snatched away from our hands and given to the NIA so that NIA can manipulate and take away the jihadi angle and put the Hindu terror angle into the play. I was aghast. I thought maybe he's not able to follow what she's saying, but then they introduced some undersecretary from the MHA. He's at a babu level. What does he know about investigation? Maybe he's just filing the papers and putting it to his seniors. And because the level at which the whole thing was being monitored was the special secretary level, special secretary and the home secretary. Where is the undersecretary come into picture? I don't know. Then he had put 1 or 2 other panelists were there. Mr. Tulsi, the senior lawyer, was there. He was trying to put reason into their story that investigator has to follow many links and many leads and has to proceed in many directions when it is a blind case, and only then they will, but they were not listening to him. So, and it went on for 1.5 hours, and ultimately to my horror I discovered that my interview was totally blocked. And whereas SIT chief, I am telling them that investigation led to a Hindu terror group, they are on the contrary, they are concluding that the SIT had concluded that investigation had led to SIMI, and that is why the investigation was taken away from them and handed over to NIA. Arey, what is this? And so after hearing that, then I decided I must come out in open and say what I know and what are the facts. So that is how I started. I put it on the Facebook, I put it on the email, and now I am before you.
So during your course of 2010, NIA took over the case, and only after 2000, NIA made it public that there was a Hindu terror angle. But it was the initial investigation of SIT, SIT,
exactly,
from where they kind of got all their information. But do you have any idea how NIA after 2010 pursued the case further?
2010, I was not involved because I left Haryana in 2010 itself. I left in the month of maybe May or June, I don't remember exactly. I joined BSF. I came out on deputation and never went back. So I have not followed how the NIA has proceeded. But NIA had all the names had already come. The breakthrough with regards to the names and all those things came in 2008, Malegaon, where the motorcycle was recovered when ATS Maharashtra went there and they could get the names and all those things. So that is the main breakthrough as far as the names are concerned.
So that implies, because when you came, NIA took over. Basically, after that, everyone knows what happened. So now, since Hemant Karkare and especially the angle that you're talking about the Hindu terror are being trolled, and Hemant Karkare, even after getting killed, his intentions are projected as being suspect. So what is your how do you feel about because you as an officer, Hemant Karkare, must have tried to work honestly around and kind of investigate it as honestly as possible.
No, Hemant Karkare was a very straightforward officer. He has a very good reputation in his cadre, and he had just returned, if I am correct, he had just returned from a big deputation from RAW that year only. He returned maybe just a few months back from RAW, RAW. He was on deputation with RNW, and then he returned just a few months back, and a very upright officer and actually the leader of crisis. Otherwise, why would he go and confront the terrorists on that fateful evening when the Bombay attack took place? Any other officer would have just sat down in his office and directed various things to take place. But he himself went there and he went in the thick of the things. It happens. Sometimes you are caught by surprise, they were also caught by surprise. But there is no question of Hemant Karkare not evaluating the evidence. Why will he not evaluate the evidence? What is his... He didn't know how are we proceeding in Samjhauta Express. He didn't know that Samjhauta Express had this angle or that angle. So the Malegaon case they were conducting independently of any other case. And in that case this motorcycle was recovered, and that is how they reached to various people. They were also lucky, I would say. If this evidence was not there, maybe it would have taken them much more time or whatever it is. But sometimes investigators are required to be lucky.